was going to check myself.
Hi, Jimmy. I haven't seen you. I'm not kissing.
Okay.
Okay, nice.
Good morning. Come, let's get started. So we're off to a winter start. Everybody braves the cold and makes it here. It might take a few minutes. But we're going to, we the stalwart ones, we'll manage.
A few minutes, I'll go and get a cup of something.
I'm going to get started because it's getting a little bit late. Okay? You can get a quick cup. I'm going to get started and we'll fill you in.
Okay.
Okay. Good morning, Chai Rivka. So good to see you.
Good morning, everyone.
Okay.
Everybody.
So, I turned it on, Dov. Yeah. Okay. Page 250, Parsha Vayigash. Okay, so there's the central topic that I'd like to discuss today, which is the topic of revenge. But let's just start off with something else before we get there. And this is a short idea, but it gives us a little bit of a glimpse into the depth of the Torah and how many different levels the Torah is actually operating on. Okay? The story is as follows. Yosef has
Did he say Vayigash?
Vayigash.
Oh.
Yeah. Yosef, the brothers came down. Yosef did not reveal his identity right away. He demanded that Binyamin be brought down. According to Ramban, that was in order to fulfill the dreams in the proper order. According to others, he was the Kliyaka we discussed last week or the week before. What he was doing was constantly presenting these situations which forced the brothers to reconsider what they had done. They're being accused of being spies. We're not spies. Why from the heavens are we being accused of being a spy? Did we ever accuse someone of being a spy? We're being thrown in prison into a pit for no reason. Did we ever wrongly throw someone into a pit? Our father's going to go through such anguish. Did we ever cause our father such anguish? Right? He was constantly making them reassess. And then Binyamin comes down, and then he sends them back and plants the goblet in the bag of Binyamin. Now, before they came back the second time, Yaakov did not want to send Binyamin. He was afraid, something terrible could happen to him. I already lost one of my sons of Rachel. I do not want to take a chance on losing the other. Yehuda stepped forward and he advocated on behalf of sending, and he made a personal pledge. He said, if I will not bring Binyamin back to you, v'chatati lecha kol hayamim, I will have sinned to you for all days. All days means going beyond olam hazeh, beyond this world. I am excommunicating myself in the world to come. I will forfeit any pleasure in this world and any pleasure in the next world if I don't bring you back. And he said, if we wouldn't have delayed, we could have been there and back already. Yaakov agrees and sends Binyamin. And everything seems to be going okay. They bring back the extra money that had been placed at the first time, they bring it back. Everything seems to be going fine. And they're starting to breathe easy. They're out of Mitzrayim. They're on the way back with Binyamin and all the provisions. And then what happens? They come chasing after them from Egypt. Why did you steal the goblet? Steal the goblet? We didn't steal the goblet. Right? No, you stole the goblet. Did anyone steal? Wait. They start checking, and they find the goblet by Binyamin. And they say, really, what you had said was right. You should all be slaves, but you won't all be slaves. Binyamin will be a slave for his theft. Everyone else can go home. Now, we have Yehuda. Yehuda is the one, Vayigash Elav Yehuda. Our Parsha begins, and Yehuda draws close. Yehuda is the one who's going to be speaking over here because Yehuda's got everything on the line over here. Vayomer, he says, Bi Adoni, please, my Lord, Let me speak some words in the ears of my master. And do not get angry at your servant. Ki chamocha kaparo. You are like Paro. The Torah as we have it does not have any nikudot, does not have any vowelization. The Torah as we have it, when you look inside the Torah, there's no vowelization, there is no trup. The musical signs that we have that let us know exactly what the tune is, all of that is Masorah. All of that is tradition that was passed on down to us. The Vilna Gaon points out something very fascinating over here. He points out the trup. The way the cantillation, the way this is read is Vayigash Elav Yehuda. You see Vayigash Elav there, those two lines, Vayigash Elav, that's called Kadma V'Yazla Yehuda. The dot above the Dalid, that is the Rivi'i. Vayomer, those sideways S's, Biadoni, the triangle above the Yud. Those trup, every trup has its name. Okay? Vayigash Elav. The name of that trup is Kadma V'Yazla. What do those words mean? Kadma V'Yazla. He came forward and he went. Yehuda. The name of that trup is Rivi'i. What does Rivi'i mean? The fourth.
He's the fourth son.
So the trup is telling us that the fourth son got up and went. Now, why the fourth son? You'd imagine the older sons, Reuven is the oldest.
But Yehuda,
Let him take responsibility.
isn't Yehuda fourth?
Yehuda's the fourth son. I'm asking, why did the fourth son step forward now to argue with Yosef about Binyamin? Why the fourth son? Why not the first, second, or third son? Tell me, why the fourth son? What's the answer? Why is Yehuda the one who's arguing over here? Because when Yaakov,
You promised his sons, right?
no, Reuven promised his sons.
He
When
promised Yaakov that
he promised Yaakov he'd bring him back. What did he put on the line?
everything.
Everything. His entire Olam Hazeh, and most importantly, his Olam Haba. His world to come was put on the line. So that's why the Rivi'i, that's why the fourth son came forward. Right? Because he had pledged his eternity. Let's continue.
Rabbi, how come Reuven didn't?
Reuven tried. Reuven was the first to speak. And Reuven said, if I will not bring back Binyamin, I'll kill my two sons.
Why didn't he say he'll kill himself instead of his two sons?
Well, he's saying, the same. What he was saying was the same way that I would never let anything happen to my own children. I will never let anything happen to your child. But Yaakov was not impressed. Yaakov was not moved by that pledge. When Yehuda pledged that he will have sinned for all eternity, if he doesn't bring him back, then Yaakov felt he's the person I can give my son to. Let's continue. Vayomer. That's those downward S's. The name of that trup is Zarka. What does Zarka mean? Zarak, lizrok. Throw. Bi Adoni. See underneath the letter Bet, there's that backwards L. That's called Munach. And the triangle above the Yud of Adoni is called Segol. What does Munach mean? Menucha. Rest. What is Segel or Segula?
A sign.
No, that's something else.
A symbol of Segula.
A Segel, Segula, we say Shabbat is Yom Menucha, and it's the Segula. It is the The
Segula.
yeah, more than that. Segula is a time of how do you define auspicious time? Yeah, thank you. Yeah, like a segula is an auspicious act that we do. So like a segula, right? So what do these next words mean? He threw the rest, right? As in resting, not the rest, the remainder. As in resting of segula, the most auspicious rest. He had thrown the most auspicious rest, meaning what? Yehuda.
Yeah.
The reason why he came forward is because Zarka Munach Sego. He had thrown away, he had put on the line the most auspicious time of rest, of recompense that anyone has. So the Vilna Gaon points out that in the trup itself is telling us this story. And the Vilna, it just gives us an idea of just the levels and levels and levels and levels. One of my favorites, another one that he says that I say at my Pesach Seder every year, is we were in Egypt for how many years? 210. Okay? Now originally it had been said we would be in Egypt for 400 years. So how does it work 400 to 210? So, one explanation is 400 was from the birth of Isaac, of Yitzchak, right? But Egypt will only be 210 years. Others say that it was because the Egyptians embittered our lives so much that they concentrated 400 years of slavery into those 210 years. The Gra points out, the Vilna Gaon points out, the trup by Vayemaru et Chayehem, which means, and they embittered their life, is Vayemaru et Chayehem, which is titled, Kadma Viazla, again, Vayigash Elav, Vayemaru et Chayehem, Kadma Viazla. Kadma Viazla means to get up early and go. So the Vilna Gaon says, the reason why we were Kadma Viazla is because Vayemaru et Chayehem, because they embittered our lives. And he takes it a step further. The gematria, he says, the numerical value, Kadma Kuf, 100, Dalid, 4, Mem, 40, Aleph, 145. Okay? V, Az, La. Vav is 6. Aleph is 1. Now we're at 7. Zayin is 7. We're at 14. Va'azla. Lamed is 30. We're at 44. Aleph is 1. We're at 45. Right? 145 plus 45 equals 190. Why 190? We were supposed to be there for how many years? 400. And we left after 210. So how much were we Kadma Va'azla? Kadma Va'azla means we got up and we went. We left early. How early did we leave? Kadma Va'azla. 190. Right? Just the levels upon which this Torah of ours operates is just astounding. And we don't scratch the surface. We don't get a drop of the ocean. Linda.
Is the trope the same for Sephardim?
Yes.
Not that the melody is the same, but the actual...
Yes, and the melody is also basically the same. It's just, they're slight, it's the same general melody, but there'll be slight deviations in the way that it's done. But the trup is, everyone has the trup, and the names of the trup, that's all the same. That's all Jews.
Rabbi, how often does this occur, that there's a level of understanding in the trup itself? That is this unusual? Is this one-off?
How often do we see it? I don't know how often we, not that, the Gra has many examples, right? The Gra has many examples. But by Megillat Esther. It's amazing. When all the women are being brought to Achashverosh, the trop there for all the other women is Kadma V'Azla, which you hear in the cantillation. It's like this eager excitement. And it means they got up and they went. And then, when Esther, the daughter of Avichail, the Mordechai, Munach, and the way the trup sounds, and the word Munach is resting, right? It's sitting back. And you literally, from the trup, you hear Esther being led down this long corridor, almost being pulled, right, to Achashverosh. I'll say it exists constantly. Do we always understand it? No. The Gemara says that Rabbi Akiva would darshan the crowns on top of every letter. What is it teaching us? Do we understand it? No. Is it there? Yes. Right?
It's almost as if it speaks to us through our mind and our senses.
Yeah.
And somehow we may be getting it, but we don't know why we're getting it, or we're not getting it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go through a little bit over here. And what should we work on today? Okay, let's work on the...
What about the second and third sons? What role do they? What are their names? Shimon and
Ruvain, Shimon, Levi, and Yehuda.
Levi. How come they didn't?
Huh?
How come they didn't?
So Yehuda was the leader. We saw by the throwing of Yosef into the pit. Yehuda was the one who's... Ruvain wanted to save him, but didn't want to speak up. So he didn't say, no, this is wrong, let's bring him back to his father. He said, no, don't kill him, let's throw him into... let's just throw him into a pit, thinking I'll come back later and I'll take him out. Yehuda was the one who seized control in a wrong way. And he said, why should we kill him? Let's just sell him down to Mitzrayim. And everyone listened. Yehuda was the leader, and that's why royalty, the kingdom of David, comes down through Judah, through Yehuda. See, he was the very forceful leader.
In a crowd of people, there'll always be someone who's the leader, because everyone, you can be in a crowd and say, oh, let's all go to this, and no one will listen. And then the leader will say, let's go to that, and whatever the same person says, and everyone will say, yes, good idea.
Good idea.
It's just some people have that kind of command.
And the first guy says, why didn't I think of that? When no one listened.
It doesn't matter, because it's how they say it.
It's how they say it, and it's who they are.
It seems like because everyone will listen to them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also, when he stepped forward, when the Tamar incident, the people took notice of this guy.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, I could only imagine how Yosef is feeling at this point. On one hand, this restructuring of the sale of Rachel's son, right? He restructured it perfectly. He restructured that now Binyamin is going to be taken as a slave, and they don't have to sell him. Right? We mentioned this before. They don't have to sell him. It's all laid out for them. It's on a silver platter. And wanted to see how they're going to react. And he sees how they react. Yehuda comes forward forcefully. So on one hand, there must have been this sense of relief that, oh, they care about Binyamin. What they did to me, they won't even allow it to happen to Benjamin. They really care about Binyamin. At the same time, how bittersweet he must have been feeling inside when he sees, I'm going to go through it right now, when he sees and hears Yehuda going all out to save his brother and thinking, where were you? Where was this Yehuda when I was stripped of my coat, thrown into a pit, and it was you, Yehuda, who said, hey, sell him down to Egypt. Right? Now let's hear Yehuda advocating over here? Okay, let's take it in English. Okay, and Yehuda's going to go through how all of this makes no sense whatsoever. This has been so bizarre from the time that we started. Jenny, you want to read for us? Right? You want to read for us in English?
Sure.
Start with 19. The first verse I read already.
Okay. My Lord has asked his servant, saying, have you a father or brother?
Now, right away, it didn't make sense. We came down to buy food. Why do we start to play this, family geography game? Do you have a father or a brother? And we said,
And we said to my Lord, we have an old father and a young child of his old age. His brother is dead.
Now, at this point, they lied a little bit. Right? They didn't want to say his brother's alive, thinking if we say he's alive, you're going to tell us to bring him down also. Right? His brother is dead. He alone.
He alone is left from his mother, and his father loves him. But they didn't know that Yosef was alive.
Yeah.
But they did know that he was
They
dead.
simplified this.
Yeah.
They did know that he was dead. They did not know what was with him. But from the Midrashim, they thought they came down to Egypt hoping to try to find him.
Right.
Right? Then you said,
Then you said to your servants, bring him down to me, and I will set my eye on him. We said to my Lord, the youth cannot leave his father, for should he leave his father, he will die. But you said to your servants, if your youngest brother does not come down with you, you will not see my face again. And it was when we went up to your servant my father, we told him my Lord's wishes. And our father said, go back, buy us some food. And we said, we cannot go down, only if our youngest brother is with us. Then we will go down, for we cannot see the man's face if our youngest brother is not with us. Then your servant my father said to us, you know that my wife bore me 2 sons, one has left me, and I presumed, alas, he's surely been torn to pieces, for I have not seen him since.
and interesting, this is Judah, the son of Leah, saying that Jacob said, you know that my wife bore me 2 sons. It seems even they understood and accepted that his main wife, the wife for whom he had worked actually 14 years, was Rachel. My wife bore me 2 sons. One has left me. Continue, Jenny.
Okay, so should you take this one too from my presence and disaster before me, then you will have brought down my hoariness.
My old age, right? In evil.
In evil to the grave. And now if I come to your servant my father, and the youth is not with us, since his soul is so bound up with his soul, it will happen that when he sees the youth is missing, he will die, and your servants will have brought down the holiness of your servant our father in sorrow to the grave. For your servant took responsibility for the youth from my father, saying, if I do not bring him back to you, then I will have sinned to my father for all time. Now therefore, please let your servant remain instead of the youth as a servant to my Lord, and let the youth go up with his brothers.
In other words, I, Judah, will stay as a slave in place of Binyamin. For how?
For how can I go up to my father if the youth is not with me, lest I see the evil that will befall my father?
Okay, so if we were to put this down into just a few words, what is the thrust of what Yehuda is saying to Yosef? What is his argument, or what is his plea?
You're going to add evil to evil.
Meaning what? Evil to evil meaning what?
Well, you're going to make the situation worse.
What situation?
The
For who?
situation
For
for
Yaakov.
for
Yaakov.
the boys, and actually for Joseph, because he'll be responsible.
Responsible for what? What's the main theme here?
Enslavement.
Jacob.
Okay.
Jacob. Have compassion on Jacob, right? That's right. We came down here, my father, right, a young child was old age, right? He didn't want to let him go, right? He's one of my 2 sons, right? Don't take him, I'll go down to my grave, right? Now, right, my father, do you bring down the Sevat Avdecha into the grave? You bring down my father to the grave. I took responsibility. I will sin to my father for all time. Let me go instead. How can I go to my father if the youth is not with us? lest I see the evil that will befall my father. Right? If we're going to capsulize it, my father, my father, my father, my father, my father. You want a slave? I'm stronger. I'm better slave than Binyamin. Just don't do this to my father.
Yeah.
Let's continue. Let's take a little bit in Hebrew now. In Mem Hey. V'lo yachol son in Hebrew want to take for us? Let's not be bashful. Leah, Mem Hey, Pasuk Aleph.
ולא יכול יוסף להתהפך לכל הניצבים עליו, ויקרא הוציאו כל איש מעלי, ולא עמד איש איתו, התוודע יוסף אל אחיו.
Beautiful. Let's take that in English. Take a few in English, somebody. Linda?
I'm not sure where we are.
45.
45.
Chapter 45, verse 1.
45, 1. Okay, now Joseph could not restrain himself in the presence of all who stood before him. So he called out, "Remove everyone from before me." Thus no one remained with him when Joseph made himself known to his brothers.
One more.
He cried in a loud voice, Egypt heard and Pharaoh's household heard.
Okay. Just one thing I want to add in before we get to the next verse. An interesting thought. Remember we discussed a couple of weeks ago that we always, well, not always, but often the mistake is made that we think whatever we know, the other person knows it also. So in the Yosef story, we know that the brothers brought his coat back, dipped in blood, showed it to the father. The father said, "Oh, he's dead." And the father never stopped mourning for him. We know that. From Yosef's perspective, he knows nothing of the sort. Yosef, the last thing he had with his father was he told him the dreams. His father scolded him about the dreams. His father then sent him off to Shechem, a place where there's been a lot of violence, a lot of destruction. And he gets to Shechem, and the brothers throw him in a pit and sell him. And then there's no search party, and no one cares. From his perspective, this is what he might be thinking. He doesn't know that his father, he doesn't know about the coat, he doesn't know anything about that. My father's going to send to get me. No one comes. At a certain point, he starts to think, does anybody care? Or was my father in cahoots? And we mentioned that he named his first son Menashe, Kinashani. God has caused me to forget my house, the house of my father. Maybe, right, there's a possibility that, as Rabbi Ben Nun says, he wants to leave this all behind him. When is the first time that Yosef hears anything about how his father is feeling? This conversation now. Right, you know my wife bore me 2 sons. One has left me, and I presume he's been torn to pieces. I have not seen him since. Oh, my father thinks that I'm dead. That must be what was said to my father. Oh, he wasn't in cahoots. Right? And if you take this one too, my father will be there. Oh, so he's mourning me. This is the first time that Yosef has heard straight out how his father feels about him and what his father thinks might have happened to him. But yeah, Jenny.
Yeah, I was reading that.
Did you read ahead?
No. No, just a commentary, just an email that I
Yes.
got, that this is an example for us of emotional restraint on Yosef's part, and lack of embarrassment, that he sent everybody away.
Yeah.
Never to
Beautiful.
embarrass anybody.
Beautiful.
Even if you have strong feelings about it, you don't embarrass anybody.
Yeah, yeah, beautiful. And Rambam says that, Maimonides says, even when you have to discipline a child, you need to discipline a child, it should not be in front of anyone else.
Right. Yeah, it's a good lesson. We forget.
Right? It cannot be in front of anyone else. Yeah. And Yosef cried out, Vayomer Yosef el Echav. Yosef said to his brothers, Ani Yosef, I am Yosef, Ha'od Avi Chai. Is my father still alive. V'lo yachlu echad la'anot oto, and the brothers cannot answer him. Ki nivhalu mipanav, because they were all shook up. They were all disconcerted. Yeah, even more than disconcerted. Right? They were somewhat traumatized, shocked from before him. The Medrash says on this, Oy lanu miyom hadin, oy lanu miyom hatochacha. Woe to us on the day of judgment. Yosef was the youngest of the brothers, and they cannot answer him. What will we answer? Seems very strange. What is the Medrash? How does it see anything about the day of judgment? How do they see that from Yosef's words? So very famously, the Beis Halevi makes a very interesting point. Yosef said to his brothers, Am Yosef, is my father still alive? Now, that question doesn't make any sense. When the brothers came back the second time, the first thing he asked them was, how is your elderly father? And they said, he's fine. Yehuda has just been advocating nonstop. My father, my father, my father. This will kill my father. This will kill my father. Don't do this to my father. Why is Yosef saying, is my father still alive? He knows. They haven't been back since. And Yehuda's been talking nonstop about his father. So of course the father is alive. The Beis Halevi explains that the Medrash is understanding very differently. I need to give more thought to get a better example of it. You know, let's say there's someone who is collecting charity. You hear about all these scams for the elderly, right? You know, oh please, these children are starving. Can't you please give some money for them? Right? And they're scam artists. They're pocketing all the money themselves, right? And they're doing that, and it works. People believe them, right? Let's say they turn to one of the people working next to them and say, hey, come on, why don't you give some money? They're manning the phones together in this basement somewhere, right? And he turns, hey, come on, why don't you give some money for these poor orphans? What are you talking about? We know that that's not legitimate. Like, what are you talking about? There are sometimes, there are just some people that you can't use a certain argument on. And those are the people who are on the inside, who know the truth. Yehuda was saying, my father, my father, my father, have compassion on my father. We can't do this to my father. We can't do this to my father. My father, my father, my father. Yosef says, are you kidding? Are you kidding? I'm Yosef. Is my father still alive? All the pain that you spoke about, Father, who caused that? You caused that by what you did to me. I'm Yosef. You can use that line on anyone and everyone else, except on me. I'm Yosef. Is my father still alive? You care so much about the father? Is my father still alive after what you put him through by what you did to me? I know the inside story. How dare you talk to me about the pain of our father? Ha'od avi chai? Is my father still alive? My father? And the brothers could not answer a word. The brothers could not say a word. The whole argument was just pulled out from right underneath them. They could not say a word at all. And the Medrash then says, this is the reproof that a person will have at the ultimate judgment. Because we all have excuses, we all have explanations, we all have justifications. But when our own actions undermine those justifications, then we have no justifications at all. This is what he said to the brothers. And the brothers were in shock. And then he said, Vayomer Yosef el Echav. Yosef then said to his brothers, Geshu na'ilai, come close. Vayigash, and they drew close. Vayomer, he said, Ani Yosef achichem. I am Yosef, who? Your brother.
Your brother, you told me.
Asher mechartem oti mitzrayma. You sold me to Egypt. V'ata, but now, al teyatzvu, do not be saying, Val yichavinechem, do not get angry, ki mechartu that you sold me. Ki lemichya shilachani Elokim lifnechem. Because it was for sustenance. For whose sustenance? For your sustenance. That God has sent me before you. Ki zesh natayim arav, because now 2 years of the famine, and another 5 years are going to come. V'yishlacheni Elokim lifnechem. God has sent me before you. Lasum lachem she'irit ba'aretz. That you will have over here survival in the land. Ulachayot lachem. And to sustain you, lifleita gedola, for a tremendous deliverance. What is Yosef saying over here? V'ata, now lo atem shalachtem oti eina. In case that wasn't clear enough, it's not you who sent me here. Ki ha'elokim, but it is God. Wow.
It's interesting that he says, I am Joseph. When he says, I'm Joseph, and is my father still alive? And then he says, I'm Joseph, your brother.
Yeah.
So that was a very interesting.
He's drawing them
drawing
close.
them closer.
Right? Right? You might think that after the fact that you sold me, that I'm going to destroy you, that I have no sense of brotherhood with you. No. I am Yosef, your brother. And then, amazing. It's not you who sent me down here. It's God who sent me down here. Why did he send me down here? In order to sustain you. Now, Rabbi Foreman, he has a whole long piece, which I'm not going to go into. I'm not sure if I agree with everything. But one part that he said that I enjoy very much. He says that perhaps when Yosef was interpreting the dreams of Paro, the first cows were healthy and yifat to'ar, of good appearance. Yeah. The only place in the Torah that we find people being of good appearance is Rachel and Yosef. Afterwards came the 7 thin cows who were rakot. And one's with a kaf, one's with a kuf. We say by the eyes of Leah, her eyes were weak. So on a certain level, it sounds like the first cows was Yosef. The second cows were the sons of Leah. What happened? The weak cows devoured the strong cows. What happened? Yosef was devoured by the brothers. But was it really truly devoured? Because in the end, what was the interpretation of the dream? Those cows that were devoured ended up sustaining those weak cows. So in terms of Paro's dream, it was those strong cows, it was the 7 years of plenty, which ended up sustaining them through through the years of famine. So really what's happening, the strong cows are sustaining the weak cows. Who's the strong cow? Yosef. Who are the weak cows? The brothers. So that dream was also my life, and I understand that now it's my job to do what?
Make it come true.
To, what's he saying he's going to do? Why was he sent there?
Sustain.
To sustain them. Now he's going to be there to sustain them. Very, very interesting, fascinating, brilliant thought. But let's get a little bit more basic. Let's get to things that deal with us. The Torah commands us lo titor. Do not take lo tikom v'lo titor. Do not take revenge. Right? Kel nakamot Hashem. We'll get to that. We say God is a God of vengeance, but we're not allowed to take revenge. Okay? Well, let's deal with that for a moment. If God is a God of vengeance, why shouldn't we take revenge? Right? We're supposed to emulate God's midos. We say just like He is compassionate. He's kind, we should be kind. Why don't we say just like He is vengeful, we should take revenge?
Vicious cycle. And the revenge will be revenge.
Okay. Maybe the key word is vicious. God's revenge is justice. And when we see justice, we are happy. We are happy. There's a sense of this is right. Right? You know, I've said before, when I hear about a work accident meaning someone preparing a bomb, and it went off prematurely, and it killed the person preparing the bomb, to me that's not premature. To me that was perfect timing. To me that is justice. That which you want to use to destroy other people's lives, that be used to destroy your life, to me that's beautiful. I'm sorry. To me that is absolutely beautiful. That is justice. That's divine justice. So God's not taking revenge. With God it is justice. But you said vicious cycle. With us, we don't know how, where, when to draw the line. We can't be trusted. We can't be trusted with that. Right? Actually, by Pinchas it says, "Bekano et kinati." Right? His exacting justice was my level, that it was pure. Okay? We can't be trusted with revenge.
Yeah.
But we don't have a view, like we just see the
Good.
truth, not the
Good. So let's go practically. Let's go very practically speaking. I went and I asked someone to do me a favor. Right? Would you mind giving me a ride? Not to LAX. Not to Long Beach. To John Wayne.
That's good.
And the person says, no, can't do it. Right? A week later, you get a phone call. Hi, I'm flying out of John Wayne. Right? But would you mind giving me a ride? So, lo tikon, don't take revenge, means don't say, you didn't give me a ride, I'm not giving you a ride. That's lo tikon. Not allowed to do that. Lo titor is nikama, that's revenge.
Lo tikom.
Tikom.
What is it?
Do not take revenge. And that's defined as, you didn't give me a ride, I'm not giving you a ride. Lo titor, which means don't harbor the animosity, is, when I called you, you said no, but I'm not like you. And yes, I will give you a ride. That we're also prohibited from doing. Why? Because that is harboring the animosity inside my heart. Right? We're not supposed to grit our teeth and do it. We're supposed to do it wholeheartedly. But that's not realistic, is it? How can you expect a person to put aside their understandable feelings of hurt, of rejection? How can you go ahead and do that? How can the Torah command us to do that? So there's an underlying principle. And let's come over here for a minute. They threw him into a pit. They sold him down as a slave. And Yosef says, but hey, it's all good. It wasn't you. Lo atem, not you sent me here. God sent me here. So let's go back for a minute. Someone refused to give you a ride. Okay? What would it have involved for that person to give the ride? Okay. A little bit of gas. Let's say, I don't know, maybe a gallon. Right? Now it's down to $2.50. It used to be $4. Let's say $3 worth of gas. And time. Time. Let's say 20 minutes of time. Right? So this person had an opportunity. Of a mitzvah. Of eternity. All right, let's use a better example. Can you lend me a CD? No. They say, can I borrow your CD? Sure. Okay? So now, with that CD, the person had the opportunity to trade in that CD for $1 million. Lending a CD is a little piece of vinyl, right? And for that, the person has a chesed, an act of kindness, a mitzvah for eternity. So it's $1 million trade the person turned down. Now, let's say I approach you and I say, I'll give you $1 million for your CD. And you say, no, I'm not going to do it. And then they come to you and say, I'll give you $1 million for your CD. So you're going to say, no, you wouldn't take my $1 million. I'm not going to take your $1 million. Would you say that? No, you'd say, hey, $1 million for the CD? Here. Hand delivered. Here's 10. Anytime you want a CD, make me your first call. If they're silly enough to pass up $1 million for a CD, so I'm going to get them back, and I'm not going to take $1 million for a CD? That's lo tikkun. Don't take revenge. So this person passed up an opportunity of munach segol, right? The very first pasuk we began with, of this eternity, this auspicious rest of eternity. So they passed it up. You're going to pass it up. But let's go a step further. Somebody caused you some pain. In life, we all have pain that is caused. How do we view that? How was Yosef able to view this? How did Yosef not have this anger? He said it was God. It was God that sent it.
I'm sure he had anger. He just suppressed it.
Well, the question is, did he suppress it or did he work through it?
Walk through it.
Right? Suppressing it means it's there, right? As I'm smiling, I want to strangle you. That's suppressing it. As opposed to,
Convinced.
Let
I worked
go.
through it.
Let it go.
I'm okay now.
But also, Yosef was in a good place in life right now.
He was in a good place. You're making a good point.
Yeah.
If you
That's
were
right.
standing down, yeah, it would be a different story.
Yes. Okay. Perhaps. I hear that. You're making a valid point. But Yosef understood. Everyone has free will. Everybody has free will. But, as one of my Rabbeim once put it, my free will stops at your nose. That's as far as I can get. My free will, thank you very much. My free will cannot cause you any pain, any discomfort. If I'm supposed to go through some discomfort, I will go through the pain and discomfort. If I'm not, I will not. So the pain and discomfort that I'm going through is not because of you. Min hashamayim, from the heavens, for whatever reason, and I think most of us look at ourselves honestly, we could think of many reasons. I need to go through some pain and discomfort. Hashem has many different agents, many different ways that it could come about. This person used their free will to volunteer. I'll be the agent. I'm going to cause Ciner some pain and discomfort. Fair enough. But is my issue that person? No. Why did that person choose? That is between them and God. That's between them and God. But in terms of me, his free will stops at my nose. Doesn't make contact. It's not his free will that caused me this pain and discomfort. Now, I'm not saying that if a person is in a situation where someone is causing them a lot of pain, right, or an abusive situation, I'm not saying, oh, this is coming from God, and therefore keep putting yourself in harm's way. I'm not saying that in any way, right? And a person might say, this is a person that I best maintain a little bit of distance from, right? Because this person seems to have a propensity to use their free will to be God's agent, right? So maybe I best find, other circle of friends, whatever it might be. But ultimately, it's not coming from this person. Now, you made an excellent point, Chaya. It's easier to reach that when you're out of the pit, right? We mentioned that when Yosef was taken out of prison to be brought before Pharaoh to interpret the dreams, it said he was taken out of the pit. And we mentioned, the pit might just mean a dungeon. Or perhaps the pasuk is letting us know that he's finally got out of the pit. The brothers have thrown him into. Now is the point of his clear ascent.
What Rabbi, I think, also indicated was that he could see, because it was around him, the situation had become what it was.
Yeah.
In terms of the good years and the
good.
So that indeed was from that site, from that.
Right.
But maybe it's not the broader principle, which is that if we really have faith, we know everything is from Hashem.
Right. So good. So first of all, he's in a good position now, as Chaya said, and as Jenny pointed out, not only is he in a good position now, he sees how now he's in a position to support them, otherwise he couldn't, and perhaps, what Foreman said, now he understands the fulfillment of the dream, right? And it is harder along the way, right? It is a lot harder along the way, but until you reach that point. But these words, it's not Hashem, it's not you, it was Hashem who sent me here. That is a very, very powerful, almost mantra for a person to have, to recognize that I'm where I'm supposed to be. Again, if we acted in a reckless manner, so then we might have put ourselves in that situation. If we didn't, I always tell the story, I might have told it here before in this class, I'm not sure. When I first moved to the States, I had a certain job, and then that whole yeshiva program was closing down, and suddenly I need to find another job. I'm with 7 children in the United States, and I need to find a job, and I had a trial lesson at a high school in New York. I needed to cross the Tappan Zee Bridge in order to get there. I need to be there by 2:30 to give a certain class, a trial class. And I left with plenty of, I didn't yet have a cell phone. I left with plenty of time in advance. As I'm crossing one of the large New York bridges, the Hudson River bridges, there's a lumber truck that spilled its lumber all over, and traffic was not moving. I cannot call the school. I'm not going to get there on time. There's no way I'm going to get there on time. I'm going to get there very late, and I can't even have the decency to call and let them know I'm going to be late. So here you are, you're a principal, and there's a prospective teacher coming to give a model lesson, doesn't show up, doesn't call. Right? I'm thinking to myself, this is the worst possible thing. I said, look, Hashem, you know I need to support my family. You know, if this is going to be a good match for me, this position, then let this work out somehow. If it's not a good match, then I see exactly what you're doing. I see it's not going to work. Right? And then finally they cleared the bridge. I got there about an hour late. I planned to get there about a half hour early. I got there about an hour late. I went to the principal and I apologized, and he said, "Oh, I heard on the news about what happened on the bridge. Right? I understand." Right? And I said, "I apologize. I don't yet have a cell phone." He said, "No, I understand. They reshuffled it. Gave another model lesson to a class that I ended up teaching many times the next year, and that class and I had just a wonderful connection, and that connection became evident even the first class I gave them. So it was an amazing amazing energy in the room. That I had that class, not the class that I was probably scheduled to have an hour before, who knows what, right? And it all went well. But what I have to tell myself is, I'm exactly where I need to be right now. If I'm negligent, if I left, I didn't leave myself enough time, then I created that situation. If I took the proper steps, then Hashem has me where He wants me to be. Leah.
Just answering, not answering, just arguing against what you're saying, Chava.
Addressing.
Okay, I don't want to say it in a bad way, but thank you. When Joseph was in jail, so he wasn't in a good place, and the baker and the winemaker, he came to them and said, "You look really sad today. What's wrong?" And they're the guys who put him in jail. So he didn't need to go. And they're in jail.
They're not the guys who put him in jail. Well, they're not the guys who put him in jail.
Well, they were the chief.
They're representative of Paro's regime. And the regime put him in jail. Okay.
So he didn't need to go up to them and go, "Hi, how are you? Are you okay? Are you feeling all right?"
Yeah.
And so he wasn't. He was even in a worse place where they were. They were at least. They just came from a nice paradise.
Granted, at that point also we see Yosef going beyond himself. But the idea of having this perspective, her point's a valid point, right?
Yes.
It doesn't, right? It was easier to have the perspective, right, at that time.
I understand you.
Yeah.
He was. I'm just saying that it's not. He could do the same thing when he wasn't in such a great.
But it's easy to be
But it wasn't exactly, but it wasn't fully. Yes.
When you got more.
Yosef is
Yeah.
a leader. Yosef is a leader, and whenever he's in prison or he's outside of prison, he
rises to the top.
Rises to the top. But then, why he brings his father to Egypt, and we know what's going to happen later. Why he doesn't go to visit his father with food, with everything, so the entire family can stay.
It seems like it was not sustainable back over there. And he felt that here in Egypt, he would be able to take care of them.
What a mistake. What a mistake.
It's interesting.
I
was just, there's all these years from the pit to this incident where suddenly
13 years.
Right. Suddenly he was lifted up from a familiar situation to a completely different situation. When you go from a completely different situation, I think your mind works differently. You start questioning more. And he questioned whether going to Egypt, going to Pharaoh's house, all the things that happened to him. Before, life was familiar. Why question? I have my father, my brother, I'm a shepherd, I live in, you know it. And then all of a sudden, you don't know it. And I would imagine, I know that of course he's a tzaddik, and of course he's Jacob's son, so we know that. But so that's special. He's not like a lot of us. But the fact that he was lifted into a completely fresh situation, I would think he would question and be much more alert to the situation. You know, well, could they harm me here? What am I supposed to do here? All that kind of thing. And I think this was amazing training to perfect his soul, his midos, and to help make him who he became. And so by the time he said, "I am Yosef," he said all those years of even in the presence of Pharaoh, he must have to be alert. You know, alert. Pharaoh could kill him too and say, "You're not doing your job. Goodbye." You know, that kind of thing. So he's always on the alert.
Nice.
Yeah.
So he's gone through a lot of reassessing and getting a certain perspective. I'll just leave you with don't you want to say anything?
Yeah, just real quick, I was going to say, when Yosef's putting his brothers through everything, right? He's reliving in maybe a 20 for when he was younger, putting his brothers through everything.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
He was what?
Okay. I'll just leave you with a beautiful teaching of the Chafetz Chaim that often happens. We ask someone to do us a favor, and they don't do it, right? And we get upset. Why would they do this for us? Chafetz Chaim, he compares that to a person. Well, I don't know if it's a telephone, but let's say someone comes and he's looking. Right, you come to a town, right? And you're looking for a fellow by the name of Shmuel, right? So you go to someone and say, "Excuse me, are you Shmuel?" He says, "No, I'm not Shmuel." Right? So imagine a person says, "Why aren't you Shmuel? I'm looking for Shmuel. Why aren't you Shmuel?" Right? What do you mean? Right? He's not Shmuel. Go to the next guy. Right? And he says, sometimes we get upset at someone, "Why aren't you going to do this for me?" That person's not Shmuel. For whatever reason, min hashamayim, that person is not the one who's going to do it for you. Now, should the person do it? Should that person do it? Once again, that's between that person and God. In terms of you, that person is not Shmuel. You don't say, "Why are you not Shmuel?" You say, "Okay, sorry to trouble you," and you carry on and you find your Shmuel. Again, the same idea that there is this, the other person's bechira, that's between them and God. But that's not what governs my life, and I'm not ruled by that. And we need to learn to take the deep breath and move on. Right? One of the stories that Rabbi Mandakon, one of the bracha, tells. It was a fantastic story. A person's driving to work and trying to get on the highway. He lets someone in, right? And then he's stuck in the bad lane. This guy doesn't let him in. Oh, he just let him in, doesn't let him in. And then a mile down the road again, he's stuck, and again the same guy doesn't let him in, right? And then a mile down again, he wants to get in. The same guy doesn't let him in, right? And he's incensed the whole day at work. It's nonstop. He's snapping at everybody. Close eyes are saying he sees that guy's face, not letting him in. And he is just incensed, and he's short with his wife on the phone, and his kid calls him, he's short with his kid, and the co-workers, and right, he's at the worst day of his life. Right? He's been snapping at everyone. Finally, the day's over, and he goes, and he presses the elevator, he's going down, and the elevator stops along the way, and the door opens. Who walks in? That guy walks in. And he looks at him and goes, you did to my day today, my wife's angry at me, my kids are angry at me, my co-workers, my boss, you... And the guy says, "Do I know you? Have I ever seen you before? What are you talking about?" Sometimes we need to know not to give ownership of ourselves to someone else. And if this is the person, not the person, we go on. They're going on. Right? So why are we carrying it with us? We also need to go on.
One of my sons got a new job, and he didn't know a certain thing, and I knew somebody at shul who knows that. So I went over to him and I said, "Could you be so kind as to meet with my son and explain it to this?" He said, "No, let him learn it on his own. He was sort of very arrogant about it. And every time I saw him, I was very upset, very upset. It turns out that the job was awful. My son hated it, and he left. And now he has a beautiful job that he loves. And he said, "Ugh, why did you do that?" And you know, it's so funny, this man was not interested in helping, but there was like a divine plan, and I was upset. And I see that it was totally irrelevant. Totally
But
irrelevant.
it's still kind of unbelievable that someone would say something like that.
No, I'm just telling you, the person did. But it actually was for the best. But I didn't see it.
And that attitude is between him and God.
Right.
But it's not going to affect you.
But sometimes
Yes.
you don't know the whole picture.
Thank you for
There's
taking
a
me
story.
Sometimes?
Well, actually, a lot of times. Yeah. I mean, when you
Most times
make
you don't
a
know the whole
judgment, you
picture.
think you're seeing everything.
Yeah.
So like there's
That's
a
an excellent
story-
point. We never know the whole picture.
No, there's a story of this guy getting onto the bus with about 3 kids, and then the kids are all running around, and everyone's looking at this guy thinking, this man doesn't know how to look after his children, what is wrong with him? They're running all over the place, and it's like crazy. And then someone actually says to him, you know, can you just do something with your kids? And the guy says, well, you know, we've just come back from the hospital, and their mother just died. And the second everyone knew that information, then everyone was trying to help the kids and give them cookies and give them stuff, and it just changed everything. So they just knew one sentence, and it just changed everybody's opinion.
Yeah.
But you see, we just look and think,
Yeah.
what is
Beautiful.
wrong with this guy? He can't look after his
Go
children.
for it. Go.
Thank you so much.